All right, so we're diving into HMO investment in the UK today. Trying to get a sense of what we can expect in 2025. We've got a whole bunch of sources to dig through. Market analysis reports, city guides, even advice from architects and mortgage specialists.
We've got a lot to cover.
Yeah, and you know what? Some of these top HMO cities might actually surprise you.
Yeah, I think people will be interested to see what's coming.
Definitely. And we'll even uncover some tips on how to make your rental income, well, soar.
What's fascinating about this deep dive is that we're not just looking at the present, but trying to anticipate the future of this market.
Yeah, looking ahead.
Right. We're going to examine what makes HMOs so attractive, especially in today's economic climate, and how tenant expectations are changing.
Okay, so before we get ahead of ourselves, for anyone just dipping their toes into the property investment pool, can you explain what an HMO is and why it's such a popular strategy?
Sure. An HMO, or house in multiple occupation, is basically where three or more unrelated people live together, sharing facilities like the kitchen and bathroom.
So kind of like upscale shared housing.
Exactly. A modern take on shared housing. Now, the beauty of HMOs for landlords is their potential for higher rental yields. Compared to traditional buy-to-let properties, you have multiple tenants contributing to your income stream, which can be a real safety net, especially with living costs on the rise.
Makes sense. So it's not just about having more tenants, but also about the type of tenants you attract, right? Our sources suggest that today's HMO tenants are looking for more than just affordability.
Absolutely. HMO tenants today, particularly young professionals, are seeking a higher standard of living.
Higher standard.
Yeah. Think spacious rooms, ensuite bathrooms, super fast internet, and even smart home features. It's all about providing a comfortable and stylish living experience.
Sounds like landlords need to up their game to meet these rising expectations.
Indeed. Simply providing the bare minimum won't cut it anymore.
Right.
HMOs that offer modern amenities and a really well-designed living space are more likely to attract and retain quality tenants. And those tenants are willing to pay a premium.
That makes sense. Now let's get to the heart of the matter. Which cities are topping the charts for HMO investment in 2025?
Okay, so based on our research, the top 5 cities are Leeds, Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, and Cardiff.
5 big cities.
But what's really intriguing is that each city has its own unique story, and each city appeals to different types of investors.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with Leeds. What makes it such a hotspot for HMOs?
Leeds is a vibrant city. It's got a strong financial and tech sector, which is a huge magnet for young professionals.
Right, looking for places to rent.
Exactly. And let's not forget its a large student population. Leeds has several major universities. This high demand translates to impressive average HMO yields, ranging from 8% to a whopping 15%.
Wow, 15%, that's incredible.
Plus, with an average house price is around £249,000, it's a relatively accessible market, especially for, new investors.
Okay, so we've got high yields and reasonable property prices. That's quite a tempting combination.
Yeah, definitely attractive.
But our sources also mentioned something called Article 4 directions in certain areas. What exactly does that mean for potential HMO investors?
So Article 4 directions are a tool that local councils use to control development in certain areas. And in the case of HMOs, these directions might require you to get planning permission for converting a property into an HMO.
So it could add time and cost to your project.
Exactly.
So it's not as simple as just buying any property and transforming it into an HMO. Careful research is key here.
Yeah, and understanding those local regulations are crucial.
You really need to be aware of these potential hurdles. Factor them into your investment strategy.
And in some cases, buying an existing HMO might be a more efficient route, rather than going through the conversion process.
Okay, great advice. Now let's move on to Manchester, another city known for its kind of bustling rental market. What makes it stand out in the HMO landscape?
Manchester is kind of similar to Leeds. It's fueled by a potent combination of students and young professionals. We're seeing strong average rental yields between 8% and 10%. With property prices hovering around £256,000, Manchester's got that cool urban vibe that really attracts young renters.
Yeah, Manchester's got a great vibe. But isn't Manchester also subject to Article 4 directions, making HMO conversions a bit more challenging?
Yeah, you're right. The entire city is actually subject to an Article 4 direction for HMOs.
Wow, the entire city.
So whether you're in the trendy northern quarter or the very student-heavy Fallowfield, you'll need planning permission for any HMO conversion.
Okay, so again, doing your homework is absolutely vital. Now, on to Birmingham. What's driving the HMO market is this dynamic city.
Birmingham's got this incredible energy.
Yeah, Birmingham's got a lot going on.
It's a hub for various industries, from finance and tech to manufacturing and healthcare. and that brings in a really diverse workforce.
Yeah, lots of jobs.
The city also boasts a large student population,
Of course.
which further boosts the demand for HMOs. While average yields in Birmingham are slightly lower, around 7.63%, property prices are quite attractive.
Attractive.
Yeah, at an average of £241,000.
Okay, so a bit lower yield, but potentially balanced out by more affordable property prices. That's an interesting trade-off. But hold on, haven't we also heard about Article 4 directions in Birmingham as well?
You're absolutely right. Birmingham has specific areas like the very popular student hub of Selly Oak, where Article 4 directions are in place. It just goes to show that regardless of the city, understanding the local regulations is essential before jumping into any HMO investment.
Absolutely. Now let's shift our focus to Liverpool. What's fueling the HMO boom in this historic city?
Liverpool is undergoing this really fascinating transformation, attracting a young and vibrant workforce, and its student population is growing rapidly. The city's rich cultural heritage and, relatively affordable housing market make it a draw for renters. We're seeing some impressive HMO yields in Liverpool, reaching up to 8.1%, which is significantly higher than yields for single-let properties in the city.
So Liverpool seems to be a city where HMOs really shine compared to traditional buy-to-let.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that despite witnessing significant property price growth in recent years, the average house price is still relatively affordable.
Affordable.
Yeah, around £189,000.
Okay.
This makes it a very appealing entry point for investors who might be priced out of other markets.
That's a great point. It sounds like Liverpool offers a sweet spot, high yields and affordability.
It does.
But are there any Article 4 directions to be aware of in Liverpool?
You guessed it. Liverpool also has Article 4 directions in place for certain areas, particularly those with a high concentration of HMOs. The council is trying to, balance the need for shared housing with the concerns of local residents. So it's essential to be aware of these restrictions.
It seems like Article 4 directions are a recurring theme in these top HMO cities. Now, for our final city in the top 5, Cardiff, the capital of Wales. What makes this city an attractive HMO investment destination?
Cardiff is a city that often gets overlooked, but it's got a lot going for it. It's home to several major universities, attracting a large student population. Plus, its growing professional workforce is driving demand for rental accommodation.
So high demand.
And here's the kicker.
Okay.
Cardiff boasts the highest average HMO yield across Britain,
Wow, the highest.
an impressive 9.01%, according to Paragon Bank.
That's remarkable. Cardiff is really holding its own in the HMO market, but doesn't Cardiff also have its own kind of unique approach to HMO regulations?
Yes, it does. Unlike other UK cities where Article 4 directions are applied selectively, Cardiff requires planning permission for all HMOs,
For all of them.
regardless of their location or the number of tenants.
Wow.
It's a blanket approach that aims to maintain a balance between the needs of renters and the character of different neighborhoods.
So while the high yields in Cardiff are certainly enticing, investors need to be prepared for that extra step of obtaining planning permission for any HMO in the city.
Exactly. It's a key consideration that can impact both your budget and your timeline.
Now, before we move on from these top HMO cities, I think it's worth mentioning a few others that are showing strong potential for 2025.
Definitely.
Edinburgh, with its booming tourism industry and large student population, is one to watch.
Uh-huh.
And then there's Stoke-on-Trent. Its affordability and proximity to major cities like Manchester and Birmingham are attracting a lot of attention from investors.
Yeah, it's up and coming.
Bristol, with its vibrant cultural scene and thriving tech sector, is also a strong contender.
For sure.
And finally, Newcastle. It's undergoing some major regeneration, which is transforming its economy and attracting new residents.
Yeah, Newcastle is definitely one to watch as well. It's exciting to see such a diverse range of cities offering opportunities for HMO investors. It really highlights the growing demand for this type of accommodation across the UK. But remember, understanding those nuances of each city's market and regulatory landscape is essential for making informed investment decisions.
That's some great insight into the top HMO cities. But now, let's dive a little bit deeper into the regulatory side of things.
Okay.
I have a feeling this is where things can get a bit tricky.
You're not wrong. HMO regulations are, well, they're more complex than those for traditional buy-to-let properties. And these regulations can differ significantly from one local council to the next.
So what are some of the key challenges and considerations that investors should be aware of when it comes to HMO regulations and licensing?
It's important to remember that HMOs often fall under stricter rules than single-let properties.
Stricter.
Yeah, for example, there are very specific requirements for fire safety, minimum room sizes, and adequate communal space.
So you really have to be sure you're ticking all those boxes.
You do. You need to ensure your HMO complies with these regulations, not just for the safety and well-being of your tenants, but to avoid those potential fines or legal issues.
Absolutely. So it's not just about understanding Article 4 directions, but also about the specific safety and habitability standards for HMOs.
Exactly. For instance, let's say you're considering an HMO investment in Oak, that popular student area in Birmingham. You might be surprised to learn that Oak actually has stricter rules regarding HMOs than some other parts of Birmingham.
Wow. So even within a city, there can be variations in regulations from one area to another.
Precisely. That's why it's crucial to research the specific area you're interested in, not just the city as a whole.
You've highlighted some really important points about the regulatory landscape. Now let's talk about financing. What are some of the mortgage trends and insights that HMO landlords need to know in 2025?
There's good news on the horizon for HMO investors. Despite some recent economic uncertainties, we're seeing more competitive mortgage rates emerging.
So that's good.
The Bank of England has started to reduce the base rate, and lenders are starting to offer 5-year fixed rates below 5%.
That's encouraging news. It sounds like there's some light at the end of the tunnel after a period of higher rates.
It does. This is a positive sign for landlords seeking long-term stability. However, it's worth noting that lenders are becoming more selective. They're carefully evaluating HMO valuations and underwriting to ensure that the rental income generated by the property can comfortably cover mortgage costs and associated expenses.
So it's not just about getting a good rate, but also about demonstrating the financial viability of your HMO investment.
Absolutely. Lenders are also prioritizing energy efficiency. Properties with higher energy performance certificate or EPC ratings are more likely to secure those favorable mortgage terms.
So investing in energy-efficient upgrades like insulation or efficient heating systems
Yeah.
can not only reduce your operating cost, but also make your HMO more attractive to lenders.
Exactly. It's a win-win situation. You're creating a more sustainable property
And desirable.
while potentially securing better financing terms.
Okay, that's great advice for HMO landlords. Now let's move on to some practical tips for maximizing rental income.
After all, creating a profitable HMO is the ultimate goal.
Well, that's why we're all here. Our sources suggest that strategic renovations can play a crucial role in attracting higher-paying tenants.
That's right. Tenants today are looking for a certain level of style and comfort.
Okay, so what kind of upgrades should landlords consider to make their HMOs more appealing?
Think about modern kitchens, sleek appliances, updated bathrooms with stylish fixtures, and comfortable communal spaces, places where tenants can relax and socialize.
Yeah, and of course, high-speed internet is non-negotiable these days.
Absolutely. It's not just about providing the basics anymore. It's about creating a living experience, an experience that tenants will value and be willing to pay for.
So landlords need to think like interior designers, considering what features will make their HMOs stand out in a competitive market.
Precisely. Another great tip for boosting rental income is to consider adding extra bedrooms if possible.
More bedrooms, more tenants.
Exactly. More tenants, which can translate to higher rental income. You can get creative with extensions like adding a rear addition or converting that loft space into bedrooms.
But it's not just about cramming in as many bedrooms as possible, right?
No, you're right. You need to ensure the space is still comfortable
Right?
and well designed. And of course, comply with all building regulations.
Yeah, we don't want to create cramped and unlivable spaces.
Another crucial factor to consider is timing.
Timing.
You want to align your renovations and marketing efforts with those peak demand periods in the rental market.
Our sources mention that tenant demand in the UK tends to surge in September while the availability of rental stock declines.
Exactly. By timing your renovations to be completed before September, you can capitalize on this high demand period and potentially secure tenants at a higher rent.
Oh, so get ahead of that curve. That's a clever strategy. It's all about understanding the ebb and flow of the rental market.
Precisely. And by strategically using break clauses in your tenancy agreements, you can potentially resynchronize your tenancy dates to take advantage of higher prices and shorter void periods during the summer months.
That's a great tip. It sounds like timing is as important as the renovations themselves.
It is.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our HMO deep dive.
We've explored the top HMO cities for 2025. We've navigated the, complexities of regulations and uncovered some valuable insights into financing and maximizing rental income.
But we're not done yet. Be sure to join us for part 2 where we'll delve into sustainability, taxation, and the evolving world of HMO management.
And we'll tackle some emerging trends that could shape the future of HMO investment.
Until then, keep those brains buzzing and happy investing.